Baptist Church to come up and lead us in our prayer. And immediately after that, I'll ask our county manager, Mr. Martin, to lead us in our pledge.
Our Almighty Heavenly Father, dear God, as I approach the throne of grace, dear Lord, I humbly ask you, dear Lord, to please be with this meeting tonight. Dear God, I pray for our commissioners, dear Lord. I know that they are capable, dear Lord, but they share a heavy responsibility, dear God. So I'm just going to ask that you come down, give them the wisdom, dear Lord, to be our leaders and lead us in the way of righteousness, dear God. I thank you for the opportunity to be here, dear God, and I pray for everyone that's here tonight, dear Lord. And let us all unite under your Son's name, Jesus Christ. In his name we ask these things, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Albright, step forward. I'd like to give you one of our county pins here. Bladen County pin. We're proud to have it. Thank you, sir. Item 2, approved consent items.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Peterson, second by Mr. Goodman. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Greg, can we go item 6A?
Item 6A.
You want to remove it?
Yes.
I second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Motion by Dr. Montgomery, second by Mr. Bullock. Mr. Peterson.
Motion is to approve it first. I think that, you know, my phone's been ringing off the hook since yesterday, since WCP publicized this thing. I'm personally ready to deal with it. I've got calls all day, all night, and even into yesterday, so I'm personally ready to deal with this issue.
Got a motion to remove it, a second by Mr. Bullock. We'll vote on that. Any further discussion on that? All in favor say aye to remove it.
Aye.
We got 1, 2. Okay. We have everyone here, 7-2. Mr. Peterson made a motion to deal with it. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
A second from Mr. Peterson. Any further discussion on that?
I just have one comment. My client asked if people complain, but we don't have enough data, so how are you talking about?
All in favor say, anybody opposed adopting the proclamation? Aye. As far as not supporting the proclamation?
You said do or do not.
Do not support the proclamation. Yeah, we got your motion. Let's get a motion on the entire consent item other than that. Got a motion by Mr. Peterson, a second by Mr. Good. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Nay. 1, 2. All right, now Mr. Peterson. Declare open meeting to receive comments regarding a draft community development block grant coronavirus program application. Anyone here?
58 windows for Bladen Middle School. We replaced 2 refrigerant lines at Dublin. We put a 4-ton thermostat at Tar Heel High School. 4-ton heat pump thermostat. We installed flooring in this is Dr. Betty, the HR department. We replaced new carpet in the Bladen Lakes PE hut, and that was mandated by the state. And we removed and replaced carpet in Plainview Media Center, which had molded over the summer. We removed and installed tile at Bladen Lakes. That was floor tile. A 7.5-ton heat pump at Elizabethtown Primary. That was in the pre-K area. It was the previous unit was 1992. We installed doors and walls for the HR department at the central office. A 10-ton heat pump at Bladen Primary School Media Center, and that went out there in summer. The Cisco software lease is the last of a 3-year lease, and then a MacBook for the PR department, and then at the central office, we had to replace a 5-ton, a 2.5-ton, and a 2-ton heat pump over the summer.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dr. Moore, second by Ms. Cogdell. Any further discussion?
Mr. Brill,
Yes, sir.
does the Board of Education look at this before it comes to us? Do they approve this list? It's actually in our budget, and as it goes, they approve the budget. But do they approve the line items? They don't approve the line items. Well, I was looking through this thing and I know you're a messenger, so don't take it the wrong way, I'm sorry, but I was looking through this thing and I see Dr. Beatty's HR office only 3 times where they're spent $20-some thousand to remodel the office. I would not support that if it came to the county to spend $20,000 to remodel the office. So I just don't think that's a problem. Just for clarification, it was 4 offices that we did, and they moved part of the curriculum into the central office, and we actually took a place in the warehouse and added the HR department, separated the HR department from the rest of the central office, so it gave some kind of privacy.
Mr. Chairman, on that, Mr. Pease, I know what you're saying, but when we came back about 3 years ago, that was the thing about transparency and what they were doing with the funds. And so they're being considerate enough to let us know exactly what they're doing with it. That was the biggest problem we had, that they was, once we gave it to them, it was just being dispersed and we didn't know it. We asked them and required for them to specify this is what they did.
Mr. Carter, I have no problem why they spend the money, but when I see something that I don't like, I voice my opinion. I'm not trying to tell them how to spend the money. They've already spent the money. I'm just voicing my opinion, and I think that was too much to remodel the office.
And I'm thinking, well, what you said, Mr. Word, you clarified it, not the point before. So I think Mr. Peterson will have a different opinion on it now before we're still one.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
I'll be trying to make that.
Yeah, you're right, you just got to be able to
I agree, but that's a reasonable amount. A very reasonable. So, that's my opinion.
That's what I said. My opinion.
Any further discussion?
You know what we're asking.
I need a motion to give this money.
It's already done.
Got a motion by Dr. Mongold, a second by Mr. Bullock. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, Mr. Ward. Have a good evening.
No.
And it's going.
Line item 5, Madam Clerk, this is Mr. Brian Campbell out. Come on up, Mr. Campbell.
Thank you for having me speak.
Yes, sir.
I have not done this before. I don't know how much time, but I'll keep it.
You'll see all night.
Go right ahead.
I'm afraid.
Yes, sir.
Can I take this down? Is that?
Yes, sir, that's fine.
First off, I want to thank each one of you for what you do. I don't take for granted the commitment that you make to leave your families and come put yourself out here in the middle of a pandemic and do what you feel like is best for the citizens of Bladen County. Have been raised here and born here. I appreciate it, and I know there's a lot that also feel the same way. I also understand that there's different ways to approach different issues. And so I appreciate both sides and how we work together. And so in that light, why I'm here tonight is to kind of talk with you about an idea that I have floated by Mr. Ray, and I met with Mr. Arthur, and I have an idea about what I'll, at least initially, this is just a draft idea. I'm presenting it to you informally at this point. And if it's something that you think warrants further discussion, I'd love to meet with you in either smaller groups or however you feel would be the best way to kind of approach this. Like you, I'm concerned about the continued divide between the haves and the have-nots. And I'm also concerned about the county, as I'm sure you are. As y'all already know, we rank 86th in the highest property tax rate in the state. My concept here, and again, it's just a concept, there are a lot of things that I'm sure that we should be doing. I need to be doing more to support the community. And I'm here to tell you that in whatever way I can do that, I want to be a part of the solution. So one of the things, there's probably a lot of things that need to be done. So this is just one leg of the stool. And that is what I'm calling kind of a Bladen County People First initiative, which would be to try to improve the way of life of the citizens and students of the county. There are a lot of people that are suffering right now, and there are a lot of people that probably don't know where to turn. And so I'd like to provide a vehicle for doing that. So the concept here would be to form, and I've got kind of a drawing here. I won't pass it out because if we do meet, I'll kind of show you this concept. At the center, it has the students and the citizens of Bladen County. My concept is, or what I'd like to at least kick around and think about, is to pull together the following resources that we have available in the county to help the citizens and to help the students. And so the goal would be to improve the ability for the citizens and students of the county to prosper and succeed in life. Now, how we would do that would be to form what I would call an advisory committee that would be made up of government officials, which would be folks like yourself, and to possibly include the town as well, the business community, in addition to the community college representatives, the school system, economic development folks, as well as the healthcare folks. The idea here would be to form a committee to work with a common goal to communicate with one another, work together to improve the way of life of the citizens. And how we would do that, and this is a twofold thing, it would be a student-led thing as well as an existing citizens. There's something called being underemployed, and that's when a worker has a job but is not making enough to provide the basic three necessities: food, clothing, and shelter, which we all need as human beings to survive. So the idea would be leverage the assets that the county already has and that you folks are already funding. And the good news is this first initiative, what I'm talking about, would cost no money. And we can talk about down the line. I do foresee, if this is something that you are in agreement with and would like to support, I could see down the line a potential for a full-time person. But the little bit that I get out of the community and hearing different resources, I don't think we've got a cohesive group that encompasses all of this talking to one another on a regular basis. As an example, you folks are kind enough to go fund the community college. There's a huge asset up there in the community college. You're spending a lot of money. I know Dr. Lee and her staff are fit, willing, and able to help in this endeavor. I'd like to create an environment where that the government is concerned how the community college is doing, and the college is concerned how the hospital is doing, and the hospital is concerned how the businesses are doing, and the business is concerned how everybody's doing. And if we build an environment where we can work together and we can create opportunity, this thing is built around economic development in the county. I'm sure you folks are doing all you can to drive out all the costs that you can as far as expenses. But an outside observer, the only way we're going to have real prosperity is to grow the top line. And that is, you've got to seek investment. You've got to go, we have an abundance of land. We need people to go develop land, whatever that might be. And I know that you'll say we need good paying jobs. And certainly we need good paying jobs. We need jobs, period. And if we create an opportunity, and again, leverage the resources you're already funding. Again, this. I don't see this costing initially out of the gate anything except time. I have not gone to every person on this group, but I feel like that with your support, and we need support, broad support, that this idea makes sense. And I would, again, it's more of an advisory board. I'm throwing that idea of meeting monthly. It has to have, again, support to accomplish at the center of this, the students and helping the citizens. There's a mentoring program wrapped into this that conceptually that I would see in engaging the existing workforce to try to develop them so they can get better paying jobs. Again, that's the concept. Again, Mr. Arthur was mighty nice to meet with me about it. Mr. Ray was as well. I'd be happy to come back and talk in more details. When we do meet, I'll give you this sheet. Over here on the right, I've listed at least ideas, conceptual ideas, as to what each party in this circle, how they can contribute to the success of this endeavor. And I'm sure you folks will have ideas, suggestions of things we should be doing. We need to get into communities, we need to get the churches behind it once we kind of get this thing going and create some ambassadors. But that's why I was here to speak to you today. Again, the thought would be to try to improve economic development. That's one leg of the stool. There's law enforcement stuff in here. Again, I think there's a lot of other things once we get started working together that we can leverage all these assets. Again, I can't emphasize enough, this is really doubling down on money that you're already spending and resources that we already have as a county so that everybody can prosper.
If I may add to Mr. Brian Campbell's conversation he just had, I had the pleasure, he and I sat down the other day for, I guess, a couple of hours. And with in-depth conversation, I mean, it's a beautiful plan. And it's a workable plan, and one I'm sure that we need to do. But I think it's something great that we need to look at as a board. Anytime you can improve everything for your county and get total involvement from people, obviously it's got to be an asset. And our main goal is to have better quality of life for everyone and try to create a lifestyle and an income situation that we get to keep our own children at home instead of them going to school and never coming back. With that being said, I would like the commission to consider having some short group meetings so that, and I know that taking your time, that's about the only way we can do it, I think, legally in this market. And so that they can get the feel that I got from it with the involvement that you took the time to share with me. And then I think they can probably get as excited as I am about it and yourself. And Mr. Bullock can elaborate.
I'd just like to thank you for bringing this to our attention. I think it's a great thing to help the citizens of Bladen County. And as long as, if we help someone, what goes around comes around. So, and I appreciate you getting this together and giving us an opportunity to help the people here. And you said people first. And I appreciate that. And appreciate the time you've given me to explain your program in more detail. I really appreciate it.
And a lot of time that you have put in that to develop that, and we appreciate you for doing that. But what's the consensus of the board?
So, I mean, I appreciate you taking time and doing this. I mean, I kind of don't know enough about it to respond, to be honest with you. But it's something that looks like me that would fall under the chamber. All these people are basically in the chamber. I mean, is it something you piggyback with the chamber, or I'm just asking because first time I've heard.
Yeah, and I want to make sure I don't step on any toes. There are certainly efforts by a lot of different folks, but they appear to be working. I like to use the word interdependent in this plan, because this plan and our success in the county is going to be, everybody has to know we have to work together. There's no, this whole idea, and I don't doubt that the chamber is doing certain things, but that's more of a town issue. This is a county. I'm saying this reaches all parts of the county. It's a more broad-based plan than what the chamber's doing. And if we do meet individually, this would involve like I'd love to see us do a 5-year strategic plan to say we want to grow the population by X amount. We want to grow the business. We we want to grow jobs by this amount. Let's set a 5-year goal and let's measure it. And I think if we put some of those things in place and have a goal, we'll start to see behavior change to try to attain what it is we set
And
out.
I think the reason you came to us as commissioners, we fund about every bit of that, and I think we could get the attention, probably a little bit more maybe than the chamber could, to get them.
I use the chamber because it basically has all these players already. That was an example. The chamber has about all these players already as members. And that's really,
But
not to take anything away from what you said, I'm just saying, I just don't know enough. And
I think that what
putting negative on it, I'm just saying, I was sitting there thinking, I said, well, all these people are in the chamber right now, basically.
Mr. Chairman, I think what this does is bring us all together as a team, really. And after we get together as a team, then we have breakout sessions and begin to work together rather than individualize. We'll be working together.
Mr. Chairman, I think the suggestion you had at the initial conversation, that to get a full input on it, that maybe we need to set up some small group meeting with commissioners where we can get some of Mr. Campbell's
And that's what
time,
I had told
and
him.
he can elaborate on what his objectives and goals.
You can feel the impact
Yeah.
a whole lot more with your time.
Give us and update everybody on what your plans are, and be a little bit more thorough in 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
But we'll be back in touch with you.
It's a positive step.
Thank you for your
And
time.
thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
for what
your
you're
time.
doing.
Yes, sir. Thank you. 6, soil order, Mr. Dean Marsh.
You skipped number 6.
Hold on, go back to
Number 6.
there. So I can address it.
Beg your pardon?
I'd like to address it. 6A.
Yeah. Okay, good. Number 6, see, I don't have, got 6A, yeah, but, Dean was just on item 6 on mine, and then A is consider approval of Whitehead Block Grant.
So 6 is matters of interest to the commissioners being adopted in proclamation declaring this.
Yeah, see, mine's a different one than that.
Matter of interest to the commission.
But with the, we got 6A, then,
Motion to approve.
the 6A on mine's a different one, so that's what's wrong. Consider adopting a proclamation, declaring racism a public health crisis.
We already done it.
Yeah, we've already discussed it.
No, we didn't. You put it on the,
Right,
agenda, but I have a comment on it, say to it.
right, but, we had a motion by Mr. Peterson to go ahead and deal with it. And, we have a second by Mr. Gooden.
That's on the agenda, only did put the agenda.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to do. We'll vote on it. We got a motion and a second to go ahead and deal with it. And, call for further discussion, or I'll call for a vote.
For our comment.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The reason I asked that come back to the agenda, I was told that there's no data to support that this proclamation declare racism as a public health crisis here in Bladen County. But the CDC said that there's an increased evidence that some racial ethnic minority groups are being disproportionately affected by COVID-19, and that's what we're saying. Inequalities in the social determinants of health, such as poverty and healthcare access, affecting these groups are interrelated, influence a wide range of health and quality of life outcomes and risks. To achieve health equity, barriers must be removed so that everyone has a fair opportunity to be as healthy as possible. It doesn't mean that we are racist, but maybe we are in this county. But if you don't recognize what we have or where we are, how do we move from it? Mr. Campbell just brought his plan in to tell you just just that. People of color are disproportionately affected in a negative negative way than any other group. Because what? You don't want to recognize, or at least acknowledge the fact that it is a concern. Bladen County is at the very bottom, like Columbus County, when it comes to health disease, diabetes, in other health issues.
Any further discussion?
Yeah. She's probably talking about me about no data, but the data that our health department has provided us at every meeting she's been to shows that COVID affects the white citizens more so than the black and brown. Every time I say, I don't care what the CDC says, I represent Bladen County and the citizens of Bladen County. And I didn't hear Mr. Campbell say that. I heard him say that people were underemployed and people need. I didn't hear him say minorities were the homeless ones. I mean, if I did, I misunderstood him. But I don't think we as commissioners have created a racist environment. And the data that's been provided, the letter that was provided by Ms. Terry Duncan does not reflect this proclamation, does not agree with it. And the proclamation is not written correctly as far as I'm concerned. So the data that she tells us every time she comes in here doesn't reflect what this proclamation says. So I am not racist and I'm not going to support this documentation.
But, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
see, Mr. Peterson has a perspective of what he considers as racism. And I have a perspective of how I feel about racism. And the only thing that I'm trying to see with this issue, if you see a population that is subjected to the probability of having health issues, we know for a fact blacks are more underinsured with health than anybody. That's not racism, that's a fact. We know certain things exist. It's not that we're trying to say, Mr. Peter, you're racist. But if you don't identify the particulars of who's suffering, then you deny that a problem even exists at all. And that's the only thing I'm trying to say. How can you deny a problem if you see someone needing help, know they need help, and want to make them aware that, hey, we got your back. We concerned about you guys to make sure that you get the care that you need for health issues. We ain't said about social, economics, or anything. For health reasons. This ain't got nothing to do with no economics. This is simply health reasons. That's all about it. It's health reasons.
You need to read this proclamation, Mr. Cobb.
I read.
And it states.
And it does not reflect what you're saying.
What?
It talks about racism. I know there's a lot of people in Bladen County that needs help. There's a lot of people that needs things. But when you put racism in there and you isolate black and brown and you leave the other race out.
Well, maybe we need to put segregation in there and change the racism. Which one we need to put in? What terminology we need to put in?
You know,
I
I hate to see anybody argue, but the science of, I'm going to follow the direction of, we got a good health department, and North Carolina has not adopted a proclamation declaring racism a public health crisis. 5 counties out of 100 have. Nobody in Region 8, which is Bladen, Columbus, New Hanover, Onslow, Penn, and Robinson has. And I'm the first one that would be totally against racism, but the way the proclamation reads, the way people are treated in Bladen County and all, when it causes mental illness, I cannot agree with that statement. And, but we got a call for a vote.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
I will finish my comment, Mr. Chair. I think at the last meeting, Dr. Duncan did identify that brown people number was above that 5% threshold. Now, and it's not to say that we are racism. That's not what they're saying, according to the proclamation to me. And just because Columbus County doesn't do it, doesn't mean Bladen. So why do we follow? Why don't we get lead and not the follow? The tape.
Your proclamation is declaring racism as a public health crisis.
For people of color.
Our data doesn't reflect that in Bladen County.
Say it doesn't what now?
It doesn't reflect that in Bladen County.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
All right,
sir.
yes.
I'd just like to say, when you look at research, brown or black person in an expansion state is more likely to have access to health care than a white in a non-expansion state. So what we are seeing here is that the health disparity here is much different between the races. And we just want to find out what we are doing to bridge the gap in healthcare services. That's all we're saying. To see what we're doing in Bladen County to help bridge the gap in services.
But that's not what you said.
That's all I'm saying.
We'll ask her to rewrite. We'll have the attorney to rewrite that.
We call for a vote. Mr. Beasley, call for a vote. All in favor? Not to support the proclamation. To support the proclamation.
Aye.
You got it. 1, 2, 3. Got 3, 4. All in favor of not supporting the proclamation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 3.
Mr. Chairman, can I make one observation?
Yes, sir.
Looked like if someone had to see a display of who voted, it looked like it was a racist vote. Take it
another way.
Take it as a look. Take it as a look.
You should have voted another way.
Take it as a look.
That's what we said.
Mr. Dean Marks. Now we can come up.
Right there.
Good evening. We're currently working on the White Oak Canal, Kelly, and the back swamp. And this original contract was $58,125. What we'd like to do is add some additional footage while we're working on this because it's needed. We're gonna add an additional 20,000 feet at $31,000. We do have funds, and this is stuff like it's a work in progress as we go, and we want to be decent community as we.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Dr. McGowan, a second by Mr. Peters. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. So, thank you. General Services, Mr. Jeffrey Cleary.
Good evening.
Sir.
Tonight I'm bringing before you a request to approve a second change order on the window replacement project. What this change order addresses is something we discovered on the building not long after I came to work here, and that is the concrete columns on the west side of the building above the west entrance facing the hardware store across the street. We're starting to separate in the concrete itself. The face of the concrete is starting to break away and split. We talked about several times how to address this and what to do. It was finally determined that the best time to address this was when we take those windows out, we can thoroughly inspect the columns and determine what's going on. So we did that. While the windows were out, we brought in a professional engineer, a structural engineer. We evaluated the cracking that was going on in those columns. It was determined that it was considered superficial cracking. It was on the exterior. It had not penetrated the cracking, or the cracking had not penetrated the columns. The columns themselves are 12 inches deep, 6.5 inches wide, and several feet tall. And the windows fit in between. And they literally just support the beams above those windows. And what the engineer recommended is that we remove all of the spalling or breaking concrete on the face of those things, prep them, and then replace them with an epoxy grout bonding agent that will be bonded to that concrete and resemble the existing concrete, and then finish it smooth and paint it to match. And so while that was happening, I had talked to the contractor, Mr. A.G. Barefoot, Carolina Glazing, and they said they could provide that service for us. So he has prepared us a quotation for $4,188 to strip away the broken concrete, prepare the surfaces, apply the bonding agent, apply the grout, and then paint everything back to match. And that's what we're requesting of you tonight to approve the change.
Got a motion from Mr. Cotterill, a second from Mr. Good. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Mr. Pruitt,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kidd, right there, I believe the west end where the air conditioning unit is.
Yes, sir.
That dirt is washing away, and will you look at that? You're probably already aware of it, because I noticed that a while ago when I was days a week.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kip,
Yes, sir.
one little thing I know that I want to bring to you. The water in the men's bathroom hand sink,
Yes.
if they get looking and trying to figure out what's wrong with it, I valved it off up under the sink because it wouldn't start running.
And that was in upstairs here?
One right here upstairs.
Okay.
So if they guys come in, I just want to let you know, I
All right,
valved it.
thank you, sir.
Mr. McClure, I got one question, Mr. Chairman. Is there a ruling on how many cubic yards of yard debris an individual can deposit at the landfill down here?
As long as it's yard debris, I think typically we limit to a trailer load or a truckload, but they can bring it in as long as they go across the scales.
Okay, but why would they go across the scale? This is,
If it's yard debris coming into our transfer station, it goes across the scales for weighing the charge.
so there is no cubic yards is how much an individual can bring in, and there's no charge, is it?
There is a charge. Yes, sir. If it comes in across those and the reason for that is a lot of commercial businesses, even the town of Elizabethtown, bring us their yard debris waste.
But I mean, if a citizen bring it
If
in,
a citizen brings it in, there is a charge.
I thought they paid that through their taxes.
No, sir, not that. They pay for transfer out of MSW, municipal solid waste, which is your general household trash. Building debris and yard debris and things like that come in and there is a charge.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Robert Wood, computer operations.
Thank you, Stevie. Wanted to update you on our efforts to go through the telephone proposal. I think, has everybody got these sheets? Okay. The first sheet is, what ended up happening, we ended up getting 7 proposals, and I broke it down and tried to figure out the pricing on the proposals. And as you can see, Star Communications came in, and the last figure is a 5-year everything combined. So at the end of the 5th year, we would have spent $199. That's what those numbers mean. Star came in at the lowest, and since they came in at the lowest, I used the Star proposal for the next page of the current expenses and the new expenses. On the left-hand side, the current expenses, the way we pay for the phones now, it can change because we actually do pay a long distance. So the more long distance, the more it changes. So this is actually just basically an average of 1 year that we picked out. And we came out with a total of, the county spends $28,359 per year. What I did on the other side was I took the amount that Star Communications would charge us for everything for the 5th year period. We took into account DSS gets a reimbursement from the feds. So I took that amount out of what the feds would be paying that we would have to worry about, and came up with a new true cost of the phone system, which is the $173,000 amount. So I then took that, split it back out as 5 years to come out with a single year cost. I then took, that's the $34,600. I then took the $34,600 figure and subtracted out what we're already paying per year. So the 5-year average cost annually will come up to only $6,323 for the phone.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Robert, on the equipment, which you was having complications while we had to change the system,
Yes, sir.
were they upgraded during this 5-year period?
In the first page and then actually in the last page, what I actually need as a dollar amount to get us started is the $41,700. That's the physical purchase of the phones and everything else we need to get going. But that is actually included in the $199. So,
I can get the equipment to upgrade.
yes, sir.
And they'll do that for 5 years,
Right.
5 years.
Yeah, I will, if we go with Star, I will need the $41,716 in order to get the process going.
Got a motion by Mr. Peterson, we got a second by Dr. Mongoyle. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Advisory board appointment, consideration of the heating, Baker Lake, 2, fire department, advisory committee, ETJ 2, Department of Fire Service, District Committee 3. Keep that in mind. County Manager. Yes, sir.
Chair, can I
Yes, sir.
ask you, to matters of interest, but was addressed by the citizens of Bladen County? There are two areas, Boss Road and Lisbon. I brought that to you once before, early on, about that illegal dumping. And they evidently addressed it once, part of the cleanup, but now, according to the citizens of Lisbon, they're dumping it. I thought we were going to have the sheriff or someone.
Sure. They did charge the other folks for that.
Well, according to last week, I went by again, and I went by and looked, and it's a lot of dumping out there now. So it's clean up and dumping in. And the other place is on Kennedy Store Road in East Arcade. Can we do something? I don't think it's the citizens, it's people out of the county that's dumping on Kennedy Store Road.
At the solid waste site. At the solid waste site.
No, well, they're doing that too. They're bringing 10 and 12 containers on their trailers.
But where are they dumping
The illegal dump is on Kennedy Store Road. Tires, refrigerators, chairs, it's just unreal. We have to do something.
private individual property?
It is, and it's not people in Bladen, East Arcade. It's not people going through. Because there's no homes on that end, somebody can see. And the same problem on Boss Road. And according to Boss Road, there's some elderly ladies on the end of that road, So, they don't want to say too much because they live, there. It's important that we look out for them. It becomes a safety issue.
Thank you.
That happened to me one time, more than one time. Luckily, there was mail in an address. So I returned it to the front door and dumped it out of pickup load on their steps in the porch. And I thought that got their attention. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you. I'd like to review the calendar with you for the months of November and December. Point out that tomorrow morning at 8:30, this is the time change, the Elizabethtown White Lake Area Chamber will have this monthly meeting. That will be a virtual meeting through Zoom. Also tomorrow at 2 p.m., the Bladen County Substance Use Disorder Task Force will meet. It's at the community college, but it's in a different building. It's building 14, room 107. On Wednesday, offices are closed in observance of Veterans Day holiday. Also from 10 until 1 that day, there's a drive-through COVID-19 testing clinic at the Baltimore Center. On Thursday the 12th from 9:30 until 4, there's a no-cost COVID-19 testing taking place at the Bladen County Health Department. Also on the 13th, on the 16th, on the 19th, on the 20th. I want to remind you that from 8 until 8:30 a.m. the annual Farm City Week breakfast will be held as a drive-through breakfast this year, so you're on the way to participate in that. You'll let them know if you participate. Also that day, COVID testing continues at the health department from 9:30 until 4. It does as well on the 23rd, and also that evening the board meets here at 6:30 p.m. and offices are closed in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday on that Thursday and Friday, 26th and 27th. Moving over to December, on Tuesday the 1st at 8:30, there is a ministerial association meeting in the hospital. On Thursday the 3rd, the JCPC meeting will take place. On Monday the 7th at 8 a.m. there's a prayer service here. The Board of Commissioners meets that evening at 6:30. On Tuesday the 8th, the chamber meeting will take place. I'm not sure again, the time may change, but right now we still have a standard time, 12 o'clock. Also that afternoon, I'm not sure about the substance use, I don't know.
We won't meet in December, correct?
On Monday the 14th at 5 p.m., the Health and Human Services Advisory Committee meets. On Monday the 21st at 6:30, the Board of County Commissioners meets. Offices are closed on Thursday, Friday, and Monday in observance of the Christmas holiday.